Welcome back to Recap Kun. Today, I will be continuing my recap on the aristocrat's otherworldly adventure, serving gods who go too far. At the end of the last episode, Cain took out a group of bandits to maintain his A-rank adventurer status, and he was reunited with his old tutors, Millie and Nina. We learn Millie is actually the sister of Claude, and the group joins Cain's class as guests, trying to make him look good in front of the rest of his class. Meanwhile, in a distant cave, we see a fragment of Aaron as it gets picked up by a goblin and then swallowed by a dragon. The dragon becomes possessed, and Aaron takes over it, realizing that the seal on him has weakened, and he has regained some of his power, swearing to get his revenge on the other gods. At the academy, Cain's class is learning about summoning magic. The teacher calls him out, and he thinks he is being told to study by himself, but she tells him that since they are not practicing attack magic, he is allowed to participate. Cain gets excited, and their teacher introduces their instructor Grat, a mage from the palace. Grat explains there are two types of summoning magic. The first is when you establish a bond with a monster and form a contract with it, and the second way is to summon a monster from a magic circle. Grat tells them they will be practicing the magic circle summoning, and he hands out talismans to them. The students start summoning all kinds of different creatures, trying to form contracts with them. One student manages to summon a giant beast, but it refuses to form a contract and disappears. Grat explains he didn't have enough magic power to make the monster submit, but compliments the boy for being able to summon such a monster in the first place. After all the other students are finished, Grat tells Cain it's his turn. Cain gets ready to put all his magic into the circle, but he worries about summoning a crazy monster like he did when he was young. However, Grat tells him not to worry, saying the monster will just disappear if he can't form a contract, so he tells Cain to give it all he's got. Cain gets excited, putting all of his magic into the circle, but Grat starts to panic, because there is just too much magic, and even Cain is blown away. A demon appears, and it wonders how a human managed to summon him, the Prince of Darkness. Cain panics hearing this, and quickly casts Flash to blind everyone else. Cain wonders if the demon is an ally of Aaron, and the demon looks down on him since he is human. It uses his ability to check out Cain's status, and he starts to approach Cain. Cain prepares for a fight, but it immediately submits to him, after seeing how strong he is, and offers to become his underling. Cain is surprised, and the demon says he is happy to form a contract with him, saying he would do anything for him, even if it was to destroy an entire nation, but Cain says he wouldn't ask for something like that. The demon introduces himself as Seth, the Prince of Darkness, and he tells Cain he can summon him whenever he wants. The demon disappears, and Grat asks about the demon that showed up, but Cain claims he wasn't able to form a contract with it, and it just disappeared. Grat buys his story, and Cain is relieved he managed to cover it up, but Grat ends up reporting the incident to the king. The king interrogates Cain, and he is forced to admit he summoned the Prince of Darkness, which causes them all to freak out, because if it decided to go on a rampage, it could destroy the capital in a blink of an eye. Cain apologizes, saying all he did was put his magic into the circle. Grat wonders just how much magic he has to be able to summon the Prince of Darkness, and the king thinks it must have been because of the training he received from the first king. He asks to see Cain's status, and he warns Grat not to speak of anything that he sees. Cain opens his status window, and they are shocked to see he now has the title of demigod, and his status has become immeasurable. The king wonders what the heck is going on, and Grat bows down to him, calling him a god. The duke thinks they should start calling him master, and the king worries he has the power to destroy the entire world. But Cain says he has no intention of doing anything like that, telling them to just treat him as they normally would. The king decides to promote him to a viscount, giving him an entire town, and decides to publicly announce his engagement to the princess. Back at his house, Sylvia congratulates him on his promotion, wondering which area he will be given, and he mentions it should be a town near the capital. Sylvia thinks they should celebrate, but Colin suddenly brings news that his brother witnessed an onslaught in the forest of monsters. Cain immediately heads back to Gracia and visits his family home, where he meets with his brother. His brother tells him there has been a vast increase in the number of adventurers being attacked in the forest over the past few months, so he sent out high-ranking adventurers to look into it, and they reported that the number of monsters in the forest has grown, and they have become savage. His brother mentions an onslaught incident from a few decades back, where monsters suddenly turned savage and attacked the city. Looking at the records, the current behavior of the monsters is quite similar, so he thinks it could be another onslaught. But since they don't have real evidence, they can't send all their men on a massive scale. Cain decides to go investigate the forest, but his brother worries about him, thinking he is still young, but Cain shows off his gold card, telling him not to worry, and reminding him of how he defeated a red dragon in the past. So his brother thanks him for his help. Cain heads over to the Adventurers Guild, and the clerk looks down on him since he is just a kid. But she is shocked when she sees his gold card, and another clerk named Rudy asks Cain to forgive the girl since she is new. She wonders what he is after, and Cain wants to know more about the forest. Rudy explains the monsters have become increasingly savage, and there are more signs it could be an onslaught. At that moment, Millie and Nina arrive at the guild, and Cain wonders what they are doing there. They mention that the guild put out a call for higher-ranked adventurers, and the monsters in the forest were too tough for just the two of them, so they were planning to meet up with Claude and Lena. Rudy wonders what Cain plans to do, and he says he wants to check out the forest first. Rudy thinks it's too dangerous for him to go alone, and since he is a noble, if anything happened to him, it would cause problems for the guild. Cain thinks he should be strong enough, but Rudy suggests he should find someone to go with. Cain has an idea, and he summons Haku and Jin to accompany him. They instantly jump onto him, but they soon notice something is up. Cain uses his search skill, and as he runs through the forest, he gets the feeling he is being watched. He defeats a number of monsters, but the strange feeling doesn't disappear, so he summons Seth, who wonders who is disturbing him, but when he sees Cain, he quickly gets on his knees. Cain tells him about the strange feeling he's getting, and tells Seth to help him investigate the forest. Seth senses an overwhelming presence nearby, and notes that the monsters are also trying to reach it. Cain wants to know more, so Seth summons his servant Dalmatia. Dalmatia is surprised seeing Cain, and Seth explains he is their new master, calling him the god who will conquer the world, and Dalmatia worships him, but Cain complains, saying he isn't a god. Seth explains Dalmatia is an expert at investigation, and Dalmatia uses his special skill, which summons creatures that he spreads throughout the forest. The monsters start going wild, and Cain takes them out, which Dalmatia is amazed at his strength. Cain easily takes out all the monsters, and he decides to leave the two to do the investigation while he heads back to the guild. His friends are shocked seeing all the S-ranked monsters, and they are joined by Claude and Lena. They wonder where the monsters came from, and Cain says they were from the forest. They get worried hearing this, and Cain thinks there are even stronger monsters deeper in the forest. Meanwhile, Dalmatia learns there is something that's trying to intimidate them, warning them not to get any closer, but Seth thinks of it as a challenge. We see Aaron as he senses their approach, and the two find an enormous horde of monsters waiting in the forest. Aaron decides it's time to start his game, and he sends all the monsters to attack. Seth quickly teleports to warn Cain, and the ground shakes. The guards ring the alarm, and Seth informs Cain that the onslaught has begun. Cain tells Rudy to inform his brother, and he tells Claude to organize the adventurers to defend the town. He plans on going back into the forest, but Rudy tells him it's too dangerous. Cain tells them not to worry, since he has some friends that are quite strong, and Seth is touched being called a friend, and they start heading off, but Tefana suddenly arrives, hugging onto him, and she explains his father issued an emergency order. Tefana wants to follow him into the forest, but Cain tells her to help with defending his hometown. She tells him to leave it to her, and Cain quickly runs off with Seth. We see Dalmatia fighting against the monsters, and he seems to be enjoying himself. A dragon appears behind him, but Seth takes it out, and Cain casts Inferno down onto the monsters. They turn their attention to the source, and they prepare to face Aaron, who seems to be waiting for them. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.